Hello everyone and welcome to our Australian Cup special of the 2022 TAB Australian Cup. I'm your host Molly Haines and I've made no secret of the fact that the Australian Cup Carnival, in particular the Temley, has been one of my favourite races for a very long time. But I'm going to welcome in our panel. First of all, we'll start with the old George Farrugia. Welcome.
Yeah, old is on point, Molly, for sure. I was here for the first Australian Cup where Brett Lee absolutely demolished a really good field, including Go Wild Teddy, to win the Australian Cup in track record time here at the Meadows. It's been such a storied race with an unbelievable honour roll, and one lucky greyhound will get his or her name added to that list. Without
a doubt. Now for the new Corey Smith, All Things Meadows.
That's what they tell me, but yeah, no, it's a pleasure to be here. It's awesome. I wasn't here for the first Australian Cup, unfortunately. I was about 4 years old, George, so didn't actually manage to get here then, but it's good in my role at the Meadows to kind of continue on with the great legacies and the storylines that come with a great race like this.
Without a doubt. Now we'll kick off with the Australian Cup field for 2022. Let's start with Orlando. He's a greyhound that I think stands out because of his story. His trainer Lee Moore is a driver for disability in the Bendigo region. He's huge down there, got a lot of support, but Corey, can he do anything, can come away with this Oz Cup?
Yeah, look, he's long odds in this, and he's probably at a right price, but at the end of the day, he's in a greyhound race and he's drawn box one. What more can you want? It's the first Group 1 for Lee Moore. It's a great story, and he may find it hard to win, but he's in the race.
George, any opinions on your end?
Yeah, look, everyone can dream, right? And this greyhound's got a terrific record at the Meadows. He began his career here last year in the Group 3 Vic Breeders, where his heat and semi-final win were excellent. His form's been patchy since then, but geez, he brought his A game, didn't he, in that heat, and he won at big odds. And you know, as I said, he's drawn well, he's got some early speed. He could sneak in for a place.
Yeah, well, that's all we can hope for, and I'm sure we'll be hearing the crew from Bendigo cheering him on. Now, what about Daph's Ascend, your little love affair? You love this little girl.
I do. As we've seen with our Country Cup coverage, Daph's Ascend seems to go around regularly, and I really do like her. I think she's going to be pushing up and could be contending for the lead early. If she can manage to get the lead early, then I think she's a massive, massive chance. And as you know, I do love her. So I haven't managed to squeeze her into my numbers though, but she's certainly a chance. And Team Dailly, they know how to put the polish on them.
You're there in heart with her.
That's it.
Now, George, what do you think about Daph's chances?
Yeah, the interesting part is that she covered her distance last week in 533 metres, which was the longest of all the heat winners. So she had to really work for it. I think we had Wow when he won at Temley doing it in 530 metres, and we all were in awe of his effort there. So, look, she's got the early speed, as Corey mentioned. She's drawn okay. She's going to be able to hunt up. We know she's going to try. So, definite each-way claims, I'd say, at nice odds.
Just quickly, you mentioned the metres covered. Why is that such an important little new bit of information to come out for you?
Yeah, well, I think it's important for punters to know where they sort of settle in running and how much of the track they use. Some greyhounds almost scrape the paint off the rail. They stick to the fence that much. But obviously, Daph's Ascend is not one of those greyhounds. She tends to veer off at times, and it certainly hasn't stopped her racing very well. She's had a very good career, and it would be an unbelievable story for breeder George Dailly, who will touch on if Daph's Ascend was able to win.
Absolutely. Another one of Team Dailly's greyhounds, 2 of their 4 contenders is Zippy Tesla. Talk me through his chances, Corey.
Yeah, look, he's a superstar on the rise. I can't wait for him to get up to 600, but his assignment today is, or not today, but this week is the 525 at the Meadows, and his run home times are off the charts. He doesn't flop out, but he doesn't exactly ping the lids like a dog like Daph's Ascend or Lala Kiwi can, but he comes home like an absolute train. He's a big, strong unit, and he's going to be there right at the end of the race, and I think he's a massive, massive chance to the Silver Chief winner.
Is he a little bit Dinah Double One like, or am I wrong in saying that, George? You can say that I'm wrong.
No, he's Dinah Double One like in a sense that he would have a terrific 600 metre record. I think it's safe to say that obviously this is not a match race, but 1 out, he'd probably beat any greyhound in this race. We don't want to go early, but his run to win the Silver Chief was probably one of the runs of the year, along with Jungle Juice defeating Wow up in Sydney. As we said, we don't go too early because it was January, but Zippy Tesla's run that day was unbelievable. There's going to be, I think, a point where there's going to be a little bit of a scrimmage on that first corner, and if Zippy Tesla can get the run through, all of a sudden the race might open up for him.
You certainly don't want him camped on anyone's backsides, in my eyes anyway. Now we'll go to Lala Kiwi, second in the TAB Melbourne Cup. She is a bit of a star in my eyes. What are you thinking about her chances, Corey?
She's my clear on top selection. I think what she did in that heat, that was just phenomenal, beating a dog of the calibre of Aston Rupee, and then Quara Bale was also in the race. There was plenty of other good dogs too. So she is my clear on top selection. She's big, she's strong. For a bitch to be about 32 kilos, she certainly throws her weight around too. So if she gets up there at the first bend, which I see that happening, I think she's going to be really, really hard to beat.
Yeah, I think if she finds the top, especially that 5:02 first split was very, very good. It's almost a rite of passage after running second to Koblenz, where at stages in that Melbourne Cup she looked like she was going to get there. It would be a tremendous effort. I don't mind the box draw either, especially with Zippy Tesla on her inside. If she can, and she's a professional, so she'll chase hard. Again, all important run to that first corner. But if she does what we expect her to do, she's a huge chance to raise that cup.
Team Dailly have 4 contenders in the TAB Australian Cup, and these 4 greyhounds have all been bred out of George Dailly's greyhound farm. So let's take a look behind the scenes on what makes this farm tick.
My dad came from Scotland and he raced dogs there, and his father raced dogs in Scotland as well. And their dad came out here, and in 1973, 74 they started greyhound racing in Western Australia, and so he got a couple of dogs and that was it. I've always liked the breeding side of things, and I suppose what ultimately we worked out that 99 or probably 95% of our income came from the Wheeler Greyhound kennels, and which is we have no complaints about that. They've been magnificent to us over the last 20 years, but we seem to have all our eggs in one basket, and if something happened there we could be in a bit of trouble, so we decided that we might just try and control our own destiny to a certain extent, so we decided to buy a property and start breeding. I bought a number of bitches over the years, and I figured out I'm no good at it because 99% of them turned out no good on the track, so obviously we didn't breed from them. But it's quite interesting that when the New South Wales grain industry got into trouble and Mike Baird tried to close them down, obviously the Paul Wheeler and the Wheeler Grain Kennels were in a bit of trouble and trying to figure out what they were going to do. And I rang him and I said, we'll have to work out what we're doing. He says, listen, George, I think the best thing we'll do is you can just have the bitches and good luck to you, and I hope some of the pups will win the Melbourne Cup. And that's the sort of man he was. When I first started breeding in 2015, I bred from some bitches that I wouldn't breed from today, but that's only because that's what we had. So sometimes you'll find some. Paul Wheeler once told me if you find 2 top class bitches each year to breed from, you're going really well. And the longer I've been doing it, I think he's right. So, but having said that, it's not necessarily the fastest or the best bitches on the track that produce the best pups. So it's an unknown quantity. You just figure out what you want to do and hope for the best. We raced her mother, Lala Shim, who was the little sister to Shimmer Song, and she's been a very good breed with Shimmer Song. She's produced Shimmer Shine, the dog we've got at stud at the moment. Lala Shim wasn't as good as Shimmer Song, but she had the same blood, and so we bred a few litters with her, and Kiwi's the nicest one out of the lot so far. I knew that dog very well. He's Jeff Collins' dog, and he's got a bit of aggro in him, that dog, and Lala Shim was, I wouldn't say she was a wimp, but she was very bit on the quiet side, so I thought we'll go to him, and he was by Bellarine Fred and outcross, so I thought he might be a nice cross, and it sort of worked out because Lala Kiwi, she's definitely not like her mother. She's got a bit in her. Paul Wheeler races all his bitches until they're finished, and I do exactly the same because she could go to stud and not be worth 2 bob as a brood bitch, so we may as well maximise what we can get while she's at the track. I've got a bitch at the moment racing Gypsy Bun, and we decided we'll breed from her as soon as she comes on, and as soon as we decided that, she just keeps going better and better and better. He's the best dog on the property. We'll have pups 3 weeks old, he'll go in there and check them out. He wouldn't hurt a fly. Yeah, absolutely beautiful dog.
I did want to mention, we'll put some a screen up here on the splits of all of the contenders here. Now, the splits that we've got through the ISOLink system, we're still learning the data, we're still figuring out exactly how we digest it and I suppose the accuracy of it. But there's some really interesting points that come out of the splits. So I've found that Lala, Kiwi and Immunity, both greyhounds drawn in boxes 4 and 5 in these splits, were running very similar. The difference being is the early speed. And it's funny because Immunity had all the room in the world in her heat. So it's going to be really interesting to see what these two greyhounds do and how the splits come into play.
It's a split-second thing, isn't it, Corey, between a lot of these greyhounds. We're at such a high level, they're so good that there's not much between all of them. And I think that's what you make that point, that early speed of Lala Kiwi. If she's able to do that again, will be incredibly hard to beat. Interesting to see how Immunity goes from an inside draw, from a middle draw, sorry.
Box 5, Immunity was almost a solo trial in her heat here. She was great though, you can't discount that. What do you think she's got to do to win the Australian Cup?
She has to get everything right. I think she's certainly got the talent. Her older half-sister Black Opium ran second in the Australian Cup and she's got that sort of level of talent, I think. I think she needs to do everything right. Box 5, it's not ideal. Jason Thompson was thrilled with box 1 in the heat and she used that to her advantage. She can still win. I think box 5 makes it a little bit harder being on the outside of Lala Kiwi because we saw Lala Kiwi go 5.02 early last start and Immunity didn't quite match that. If she can turn the tables on Lala Kiwi and lead, then she's a massive chance. But I think she'll run dead straight out of the boxes, so she'll give a bit of room to Lala Kiwi, which I think plays against her.
What I also found really interesting listening to Jason Adams' discussion with Jason Thompson after Immunity's victory was that her season breaks. When she's coming in season, I think he said she's been in season twice, and he's having to almost restart again. Yeah. So I think he believes that she'll be hitting her peak, not necessarily on Saturday night, but in the races to come. So it's almost like a futuristic look at a dog who's not necessarily a baby.
Oh, and look, yeah, there's no doubt that she's a star, and yeah, she did have box 1 to win her heat, but she'll be punching on that first corner. Those stats that you provided us, Molly, I think she was able to sustain her one near her top speed for longer than any other greyhound, and I think that highlights her quality. Absolutely.
No, that's a screen will pop up on here for everyone to look at because the speeds were really interesting. And Paddy Wants Patsy's gone 69.1 kilometres per hour. That is the fastest peak speed to come out of the heats. I think second to him was Orlando, I want to say, at 68.96. So we'll go to Paddy Wants Pats though. First of all, I want to say he is out of Temley, winner that you were involved with, George, in Striker Light. Does it give you a little bit of satisfaction to see a dog that you were involved in go on and throw what she has in this sense?
Absolutely, absolutely. Especially considering that when you think about Striker Light, I think a lot of people think about her rivalry with Uphill Jill, and they were both such terrific greyhounds, future Hall of Famers, the both of them. For Uphill Jill to throw a Melbourne Cup winner, if Striker Light was to throw an Australian Cup winner, it's almost even in their retirement, like, you know what, you're not going to get one on top of me. Look, Paddy Wants Pats went through that Western Derby series at Ballarat, and he defeated a really good field, Corey, and sort of blew them away. And he had a good record at the Meadows, and I thought coming into the Australian Cup, he was going to be one of the leading contenders. Probably the box draw doesn't play in his favour, but if he begins cleanly and he's racing with such confidence, I don't see why he's not a big chance.
Yeah, you mentioned that race at Ballarat. That was basically like a mini Group 1 field for age-restricted dogs. That was a serious race, and you could just about black book everything from that. And he defeated that field, and he comes here. I think the issue is, we'll talk about Gypsy Bun shortly, but Gypsy Bun wants the rail, and she's drawn outside him and will come across. Immunity will run straight. It's just how much room he gets early, because if you have a look at his speed, he's really not quick early. His acceleration in that middle part is huge, but the acceleration out of the boxes just isn't there. So he might have to come from around them. That's how I'm seeing the kind of race come out. He's certainly, if he finds a spot early, he's a massive chance, but I'm just worried about where he gets too early.
He probably almost has to begin as well as he did in that heat of the Ballarat Derby, where he absolutely pinged out and gave nothing else a chance. Look, it would be a monumental effort to win it from box 6, but he's a greyhound racing with a hell of a lot of confidence.
He sure is, and a very bright future, I think, to come as well. But Gypsy Bun, when I spoke to George Dailly a couple of weeks ago, he said this is a bitch that he was wanting to almost retire. He's waiting for her to come in season, yet she's had 90 starts, 22 wins, and finds herself in a Group 1 TAB Australian Cup. How does a girl like this get into a field like the Australian Cup at this age?
She also doesn't look out of place in a race like this either. She's been so consistent for so long, and she's very impressive. But I think if she had a draw on the inside, say if you swapped her with Daph's Ascend, she'd be right into this race. But I think from the outside, she's going to want to get across. There's plenty of early speed inside her. I don't think she's going to get across, and it's going to be tough for her.
I think you've hit the nail on the head. I think if you look at her key stats, she's won multiple races from boxes 1 to 6 and nothing from 7 and 8. And I think that'll play against her, especially in this field. But a terrific effort again. And Team Dailly's whole Australian Cup Carnival has been unbelievable. Not just in the sprinters, but in the stayers with Gypsy Wyong as well. It's just been an incredible couple of weeks for Team Dailly.
And one thing I know too, when the Dailys are going well, you need to get around them, because when they're on fire, they really, really are. So I think having 4 greyhounds in this TAB Australian Cup is certainly a credit to what they're doing at the moment. Let's go on to Titan Blazer, trained by former pro wrestler in Danny Gibbons. That's a story in its own right, but Titan Blazer well and truly won his way into this Australian Cup.
Yeah, look, again, he had box 1, but he's a greyhound that's done it from all types of boxes. I thought his win, Corey, the week before, albeit in easier company, running 29-24, probably at Sandown, probably put the writing on the wall. He's a greyhound that you feel like a group race is in him, and I'm not sure box 8 is too bad a draw. A lot of the oldies will say to you, well, I'm one of the oldies, but one of the oldies will say to you that trying to win off box 8 in the Australian Cup is not easy. Fana Bale proved that wrong, but she was an absolute champion. But what are your thoughts from the box draw of Titan Blazer?
Yeah, look, I don't think Titan Blazer is a Fana Bale, but I still think that I was a bit... There was quite a few people saying that box 8 was a poor draw. I don't think that's the case. I was really bullish about him in the Warragul Cup from the same draw. He didn't get it right. He came out, he flopped out almost in the Warragul Cup. He can jump better. I think it gives him a bit of room to move. He's not that quick over that first 10 metres, but after that, he can really accelerate. And I think if he can find a spot, again, I keep saying this, if he can find a spot early, he's certainly in this race. His run home times aren't great. That's probably some of the slower, but his mid-race pace is where he really capitalises. So if he can get around the first bend and be in touch with them, his mid-race pace will really shine through.
It's probably that racing style similar to Paddy Wants Pats, isn't it?
Exactly.
I mean, when he won at Sandown, he went 5:08 early, 29-24, Molly, as we said. And yeah, look, if there is a little bit of a scrimmage again as they're sort of on the apex of the turn and he's got that wide draw, you just never know. It will be an unbelievable story, as you said.
And just from, I'm not sure whether you heard this at the box draw, Danny Gibbons was saying that his wife Rebecca will be handling come Australian Cup night. So let's see if a different set of hands on Titan Blazer will make the difference and a Group 1 victory. Righto, Corey, George, we've heard what your thoughts are on the TAB Australian Cup. Now it's time for a new voice. We've got 60 seconds on the Australian Cup with Ethan.
Here's 60 seconds on the Australian Cup. From box 1, we have Orlando, an impressive yet surprising heat winner, but might struggle to measure up to this class in the final. Box 2, Daph's Ascend. She loves to race at the Meadows, she's reliable early and can find the rail early in the race. Box 3, Zippy Tesla, who's been an absolute revelation in the last couple of months, picking up the Silver Chief. He loves to race at the Meadows and has some brilliant mid-race pace. Box 4 is Lala Kiwi. She was the quickest qualifier for this final. She does tend to mix her box manners a little bit, but if she gets out on the arm, she'll be terribly hard to stop. From box 5, we have Immunity. She's a very capable type, was a good heat win, but she got things all her own way, which she won't get in this final. Box 6 is Paddy Wants Pats. He's had some scorching runs in the last couple months, but being drawn out in the 6 and with the railer drawn to his direct outside might be his undoing. Box 7 is Gypsy Bun. Reliable beginner, but box 7 isn't going to suit a dog who wants to get across to the rail. And box 8, Titan Blazer. He's been around in the big races for the last couple months, been superb and can handle the draw. My tip, I'm going to have a crack at Daph's Ascend for a place. I think she can get across Orlando and find the rail early.
Now we've gone through the 2022 TAB Australian Cup field. Corey, how about you give me your selections on who was going to take this one out?
I'm pretty keen on Lala Kiwi. I think a slow beginner on the inside and Immunity should run straight on her outside. I think it gives her plenty of room. I think she can lead and win. Zippy Tesla, he's the complete opposite. He's going to flop out. He's going to come home like a train. But he's a star and I can't wait to see more of him. Titan Blazer, as we discussed, I think he can have that little bit of room and accelerate and hopefully find that middle spot. And then Immunity, I think she's very classy. Whether she's going to put it together right now or not, I'm not sure, but she's got the class. And so I've got 4, 3, 8 and 5.
George, what are your numbers?
Yeah, look, I've gone La Kiwi on top too. It's almost like a footy team that's played in a few prelims and grand finals, and it almost feels like her time is now after racing against the best for the last 3 or 4 months. I think with the slow beginner on her inside, she'll be hard to beat. I can't leave Paddy once Pat's out. Might be a little bit biased, but I just think he's racing so well at the moment. He's handled inside or wide draws throughout his career. And I think he gets an opportunity if he can begin well. Zippy Tesla is impossible to leave out of the top 4, I think, because at some stage he's going to be running on. And I just like where Titan Blazer is drawn, in the sense that if Gypsy Bun and the rest of them sort of just push across a little bit, he's a greyhound that Corey alluded to, does have great mid-race pace, and he could keep out of trouble. So 4, 6, 3 and 8 in the Australian Cup.
And I'm going to go La Kiwi to win this one. I'm just going to leave it as a victory for her. I should have got together a panel with differing opinions rather than us all sitting along the same line.
Maybe it just provides a bit more confidence for the listeners out there.
Well, maybe you're the silver lining. You're the shining light, the Mr. Positivity. But now we'll move on to the Group 1 Fantabale Superstars. It'd be rude of us not to talk about this race, but I do think, and I hope I'm not too rude in saying that it's a race that really has Mapunga Ruby's name written all over it, Corey.
Yeah, I think this is the one where she really shines through and stamps her authority as one of the best stays in the land. Well, she already is one of the best stays in the land, but I think this one really could separate her from the pack. She's $1.65 at the moment. It's short enough, but I think she should win.
And George, what are you thinking?
Yeah, look, she's sort of been there and done that at this type of level. Her win at Wentworth Park to take out the Group 2 Summer Plate was outstanding. She beat a very, very good field. A lot of her rivals didn't qualify for the final, so she's probably looking around saying, well, I've got to beat a new bunch of guys, but I think she'll get the job done. The key to her is she doesn't want to be sort of shuffled back, because, as much as people think that the big guns didn't make it through, there's still greyhounds who are good enough to qualify. So if she jumps cleanly, stays out of trouble, I think she'll be hard to beat.
So do you have a first 4 for me?
Oh, just the winner, Mapunga Ruby, at this stage. I haven't done the field for the rest of them. I just thought she was so clear-cut that she'd be really hard to beat. Look, I think Overflow Lisa will run a cheeky race from the inside as well for the place betters, yeah.
And what about your selections? Just bang on Ruby?
Oh, I'm pretty keen on Ruby. I think she's a clear selection, but I've also got Mixed Recall in for second, Overflow Lisa third, and I think Orca can kind of run a place. I don't think it can win, but I think it can certainly run a place. So I've got 4, 6, 1 and 2.
And I'm just going to drop a mention to Fernando's Quest. He is an absolute stunning looking dog for the Malia Kennels. I think he was very eye-catching probably for that reason. Not that's a very professional opinion, but my opinion nonetheless. Now it's time to hear what Ethan has to say on 60 Seconds on the Superstayers.
Here's 60 seconds on the Fantabale Superstayers. In box 1, we have Overflow Lisa. Use this draw to her advantage in the heat and can do the same again and be on the speed throughout. Box 2, we have Orca, can cross to the rail at the first bend and is always reliable early. Box 3, Flying Lantern, a gutsy effort in his heat, does draw a bit closer for this final and has definite claims. Mapunga Ruby has drawn the 4, she's the favourite, she finally gets a chance to win a Group 1 race and she's definitely the quickest in this field. Box 5's Fernando Quest can and probably does lead, but will tire in the last 50 to 100 metres. Box 6, Mixed Recall. She was a fantastic heat winner. Box 6 isn't perfect, but she still has the speed to overcome it. Box 7, Sir Truculent. A former star chaser down on his best, but is not hopeless, just might be slightly wide throughout the trip. And Box 8, you have Bex Manelli. She's going to find this class a lot tougher than what she's been going against lately and will be posted wide throughout. My tip, I'm going to have a crack at Orca on the each way basis. I think getting out in front is not going to be a disadvantage in this race.
Well, that'll wrap up our, I suppose, look at the 2022 TAB Australian Cup. Corey, thanks so much for your insight.
Thanks for having me.
And George, thanks so much for coming out of the nursing home and joining us today.
Thank you. I'll pick up my cane on the way out.
Don't forget, Saturday night is the Group 1 TAB Australian Cup. We're concluding the TAB Australian Cup Carnival. Come along if you can.